Could you please introduce yourself and your organization?
Yes, we're Banana Link, and we essentially we were set up to work towards fair and ethical practices in the banana trade, and we were set up around about 20 years ago now, so we've been going quite a while. We work in four particular areas, or there's four sort of specific kind of objectives that we work towards. First of all, fair and ethical trade practices, and that's all about kind of fair working conditions and fair distribution of money along the kind of value chain, so that everyone, including the workers at the bottom, are getting a fair split of the value of bananas that are sold in the UK and Europe. We also work towards kind of respect for labour rights and human rights, and we work a lot with trade unions. Banana Link was sort of set up as a result of links between trade unions, agricultural workers unions here in the UK and agricultural workers unions in Latin America, and that's kind of has always been a core part of what we've done, is to support unions in producer countries. We also promote sustainable production, and obviously sort of moving away from things like kind of agrochemicals and the kind of production that, arguably heavy use of agrochemicals means that, eventually soil gets contaminated and it loses fertility and what have you, and it means that obviously it's not sustainable in the long run. And the fourth area of our work is to promote constructive dialogue between all the participants in the banana industry, both the fruit companies, the retailers, the trade unions and NGOs like ourselves that have an interest in production. So that's sort of in a nutshell what we do and how we do it. And obviously, in answering some of the other questions, I'll touch on some particular areas of our work.
Perfect. Could you tell us a bit more about the World Banana Forum, like maybe its goals, its mission,
yes,
and how it contributes to it?
Yes, certainly. The World Banana Forum was first set up not long ago in 2009 under the auspices of the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, or FAO for short, and was specifically set up to promote dialogue between all the players in the banana industry, the fruit companies themselves, retailers, the trade unions, small farmer or representative organisations, NGOs, and governments themselves. And I'll read this, but their specific mission is aim is working together for a sustainable banana production. Working together for sustainable banana production and trade is specifically what they're set up to do. Banana Link played a big role in initially getting the forum set up, as we kind of saw that as a way to progress some of our own aims and to obviously improve the fairness within the banana trade. There are three particular areas of work that the forum is involved in, and we're involved in all three of these areas of work. Firstly, sustainable production and environmental impact. The second of the areas is distribution of value, which is how the money spreads out along the supply chain, and the other is labour rights, again, which is something that we at Banana Link are very keen to promote. It's not been going long, set up in 2009. There have a few kind of achievements along the way in terms of sort of things that have been agreed between members of the forum and materials that have been produced. I know that we've been involved in producing a handbook on labour relations, which is going to be published by the World Banana Forum shortly. And another area of work we've been particularly keen to promote and been involved in through the forum is gender issues. And for example, we, Banana Link, organised last autumn the first ever women's meeting, World Banana Forum women's meeting, which brought together women from around the banana producing world to a meeting which was held in Bonn in Germany in December, which set out to kind of map out a strategy for promoting gender equality and gender rights within the banana trade. So yes, it's something that we are very keen to sort of participate and to promote the World Banana Forum. Sadly, some of the large retailers and some of the governments have yet to be persuaded of the value of participating, and that is another sort of aspect of our work is to encourage more of the participants in the trade to participate in the forum itself.
Really good. And so we saw that you decided to extend your actions to pineapples as well. Do you plan on extending them on other fruits, and why did you choose to extend them?
Good question. The main reason we extended to pineapple production is because pineapples are largely produced by the same companies that produce bananas in the same regions of the world, using the same sort of production techniques. And therefore there was a direct kind of synergy between bananas and pineapples and the kind of issues we were dealing with. We don't specifically kind of tackle other fruits, I think largely because bananas and pineapples are traditionally sort of two of the largest imported fruits into the UK, and have been used by the large retailers, the supermarkets, as cheap fruit to kind of encourage customers into their shops. So they have been kind of subject to particular kind of economic pressures that have resulted in problems with the workers at the end of the chains suffer. I'm not sure that there are any other. There obviously are going to be issues with production of other tropical fruits, but not that are directly analogous with the issues we tackle. And I think probably just that we don't have the resources to spread out to other fruits. But it's certainly worth mentioning the Make Fruit Fair project that both yourselves and Banana Link are involved in, is looking at a broader picture of tropical fruits and not just focusing on bananas and pineapples. So yes, but yeah, we stick to bananas and pineapples for the time being.
It's already quite good.
Yes.
Okay, I'll just move on to the next question. Could you tell us how much goes into, like, for workers, for every £1 spent on a non-certified banana?
Yes, we did. I know as part of the Make Fruit Fair project, you'll have been aware that we produced a report in the autumn last year for the European Parliament on the banana value chain and how the money from the bananas is divided up between the different players along the process. The result of the research that went into that report showed that on average for a conventional banana imported into the European Union, workers would get around about 7% of the value of bananas. So, out of every pound, that's obviously 7 pence. Or I think an average banana is probably around about 15 pence. So you'd be looking at 1 pence or so of the value of a banana going to workers with from conventional production. But you were going to
And then about fair trade bananas, would it be, how different is it?
It's slightly bigger. Not quite. I think on average, sort of slightly less than double that, which perhaps doesn't sound an awful lot, but it all adds up in a sense. Yeah, it's not as if a fair trade banana suddenly provides a worker with half the value of a banana, but it certainly makes a big improvement on a conventional banana, certainly.
Of course.
Every little helps.
Yeah.
I think that's. Do you have Tesco in Malta?
We don't have Tesco.
No, Tesco's motto is "Every little helps."
Oh no.
No, we don't. Yes, you mentioned the agrochemical use before when you introduced your organization. How do you think the harmful impact of this, like the banana and pineapple production, could be reduced?
Yeah. I mean, broadly speaking, obviously organic production, which completely removes any agrochemicals from production processes, is the most sort of absolute way of agrochemicals. There are other sort of methods that broadly would be termed agroecological, or are sometimes referred to as I'm just trying to think of the phrase. The acronym is IPM, Integrated Pest Management. Which is whereby you're reducing use of chemicals and you're promoting things like kind of intercropping crops, rather than having one large plantation with a monoculture, which sort of lends itself to kind of disease and obviously requires agrochemicals. There are ways of kind of growing them and reducing chemical use without necessarily going to a full organic kind of production technique. But I think it's fair to say, firstly, organic production. I mean, there is organic production of bananas, and organic bananas are available, for example, in UK supermarkets, but they're largely produced by small-scale producers who it's easier, I think, to start producing organic on a smaller scale rather than try and do it on a large plantation scale. But having said that, there are some, I mean, I know, for example, Company Fruitière, who are a French company that import bananas from West Africa, are planning to establish some organic plantations in West Africa, in Ghana, I think in particular, with a view to possibly then being able to sort of scale that across all of their production. So it's not impossible. The other difficulty is, I mean, the ability to produce organically partly depends on kind of conditions, the sort of environmental conditions in which you're producing it. And in areas such as Latin America, where they've been growing bananas and pineapples on large plantations for many decades using agrochemicals, then that creates problems with the soil being contaminated and a reduction in soil fertility, and the presence of disease, which requires agrochemicals. And it would be very difficult to kind of on a plantation that's contaminated in that way to be able to start growing organic. So there are sort of limits on some options for going organic, but in some parts of the world it's certainly perfectly possible, and it is done, and it can certainly be expanded, and the scope for organic production is much larger than what's actually produced at the moment.
Even with climate change, or no?
Well, yes, I wasn't even going to. So, we want to add that into the equation.
But I'm interested in the subject myself. So.
Yeah, I mean that is that is an element. I mean, back to talking about the World Banana Forum and environmental impact, and obviously the effect that climate change will have on just on livelihoods. I mean, the storms in the Caribbean this autumn, for example, places like the Dominican Republic, which sort of wiped out a large proportion of the banana crop. So yes, there are big issues around climate change and survival of food production generally, not just tropical fruits, but in all regions of the world. Yes.
Okay. No, great. Thanks. I guess now we want to know a little bit about what you have in the near future. What plans are with Banana Link?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the work that we're foreseeing in the next sort of year or so is going to be tied up as part of the Make Fruit Fair project, and you're probably aware that the Make Fruit Fair project this year is going to be focusing on supermarkets, and a campaign to persuade supermarkets to, for example, to be ensuring that kind of labour standards in their supply chains, and that living wages are paid, labour rights are respected, and various other aspects. That campaign is still the sort of the key demands of that campaign are still being finalised. So at the minute we haven't got a sort of a final list of what the demands are going to be of supermarkets. But the idea is that we'll focus on one particular supermarket chain that's prevalent across most of the member countries of the Make Fruit Fair project, which is Lidl. Do you have Lidl in Malta?
Yes,
We do.
Yes, so you're familiar with their sort of their business model, and obviously the fact that they're selling things, arguably ridiculous. I mean, part of the problem with bananas and with the Make Fruit Fair campaign and supermarkets, as you know, is that because of the power of supermarket buying power, they've been able to push down the prices they pay to the suppliers to below sustainable levels, and obviously Lidl, being a discount supermarket, is one of the supermarkets that have been involved in that kind of process or responsible for that sort of process. But I think also the fact that it is Europe-wide, and I think with the exception of one or two of the countries involved in Make Fruit Fair, it's present in all those countries, so it gives us all a kind of a common target for the campaign. Rather than trying to sort of spread it across a number of supermarkets. And if we can persuade Lidl to start giving commitments on things like ensuring that the workers in their supply companies are being paid a living wage, for example, then that would be a huge success for us.
Of course. And an example for the others as well.
Yes. Well, no, exactly, yes. We will be doing, other work around Make Fruit Fair. We in the UK are planning to visit a number of festivals over the summer period and hold to kind of promote the Make Fruit Fair campaign, particularly to young people in the UK. There are going to be more, as you're probably aware from the Make Fruit Fair campaign already. We've had one, what we call an urgent action, which is where we have an appeal online to support workers in a particular company who are being discriminated against because of their sort of trade union organisation activities, things like that. So there will be more of those coming over the next year. And we're also planning, for example, it's something, these are sort of things Banana Link has always done and continues to do, aside from Make Fruit Fair anyway. But for example, we're hoping to bring a few speakers over from banana producing areas to sort of take them on speaking tours and use them to kind of promote the cause of Make Fruit Fair as well. So yeah, those are the sort of ideas of what we're likely to do. But obviously a lot of what we do kind of reacts to events, particularly when it comes to urgent actions. We can't invent a need for an urgent action, but if one of our partner unions in Latin America, for example, tells us they're having difficulties and they've not been able to resolve them through dialogue with management or even with involvement of government mediation, for example, then then we'll take action. But we obviously can't just manufacture those circumstances. But as I don't know the full details, but we have got a likely urgent action coming up very soon around an issue in Peru. But I don't personally at the minute know much more about it than that. But you may start to hear about that in the next few weeks.
Okay, so this will be on your website? Yes,
it'll be on the website. It'll be promoted through the Make Fruit Fair website and all the partners. I don't know the exact details. The last one we had, which was the Anexco Pineapple Company in Costa Rica, what we did was to get people to sign an email which went to the managing director of that company. And between us, we got around about 23,000 people who signed up to send that email. And we do know that as a result of that and the pressure it put on the company, as well as pressure on the parent company Fifes, has resulted in all sides coming together, mediated by the Costa Rican Labour Ministry. And so dialogue is now taking place, and although it's yet to be concluded, we're kind of encouraged that it was only a result of our urgent action and the intervention of people from Europe supporting the urgent action that there has been sort of a progressive result from that action. It's yet to be fully resolved, but it's certainly it's positive signs. So we're encouraged by that.
That's great. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's more or less the questions, but if there's anything like you want to add, like a take-home message or an interesting fact on a fruit, I don't know.
Well,
There's
it's
some...
funny enough you said, because you'd asked about interesting facts about
Interesting
tropical
facts.
fruits. Yeah. Well, I was doing I did a bit of research earlier on. I didn't.
Thank you.
I couldn't think of anything quite off the top of my head, but I was amused to find that there are a number of medicinal uses of bananas.
Really?
Or claims for medicinal uses of bananas, and I'll read out the list of illnesses that bananas are supposed to be able to help alleviate, which include anemia, high blood pressure, memory loss, depression, hangovers. Not that I've never actually tried a banana to cure a hangover, but I may be now. Heartburn, morning sickness, mosquito bites, which I actually understand if you rub the inside of a banana peel onto a mosquito bite, it can kind of reduce the swelling and the irritation from it. Nerves, seasonal affective disorder, strokes, temperature control, ulcers and warts are all illnesses that bananas can help to alleviate, as well as apparently the inside of a banana skin could be used to polish shoes very well, but again, I've never tested that. Hopefully that gives you a little amusing end to the
Perfect.
interview.
Thank you so much.